I'm a veterinarian and I come from a family of physicians, so I have this hang-up on One Health being from the anthropocentric view. I think that's not necessarily how we should look at it, and it's already been said a little bit. I work in the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences, and the SLU Future One Health down there, that's our platform for One Health transdisciplinary research, which I am the program director of. But in my sort of other part of my work, I do research in contagious animal diseases and antibiotic resistance. And I teach students, and I have some research projects on that. So I'm just going to start briefly with SLU Future One Health, because that sort of reflects what we've talked about before and also what we face in education. Since we focus on researchers, and we've had this challenge within SLU, the same challenge as we have globally, to see that One Health is a broader perspective. It started out like it's just the vets and the zoonotic diseases in our university. We don't have medical students. This is a strategic platform for transdisciplinary research. So transdisciplinary research involves also stakeholders. If we have interdisciplinary research, it's from different scientific disciplines, and transdisciplinary usually means that you involve stakeholders as well. So we are trying to support our researchers to find each other across disciplines, to help them collaborate with other outside our university, obviously, and globally, with different disciplines and also stakeholders. And we are the contact point for One Health research in SLU. We support our researchers. We try to communicate the results from our research, obviously, because we're in our university. We're trying to promote SLU as a One Health sort of good One Health partner, because we have the animals, we have animal science, we have veterinary medicine, we also have plant science, plant health, forestry, crops, horticulture, we have landscape architecture, we have soil science, water science, all these sort of ecosystem, except human medicine. We have a lot of research together with the medical faculties that involves within this field, but we sort of provide the rest, we think. But then we also have this challenge within our university. What is bee health? Is that animal health or is it environmental? Lots of these things. We go from microbes to microbe to macro. We look at the microbes. We look at soil science contains both soil microbiota, chemical and physiological composition of the soil. All these different. Whether you're in one of these aspects, you already have a lot of different sort of scientific disciplines within that. And maybe people will think that this is sufficient. It's already hard enough to communicate between the different scientific disciplines, and then we bring in social sciences on top of that, because we need economics and we need behavioral sciences and so on. And then we broaden this to One Health. All of this, the sort of the whole ecosystem, and that is a challenge, of course. And I'm going to repeat some of the things that has been said already. But I think on global level, the One Health, the concept of One Health began to be talked about when the One Health initiative was launched, and that started with medical doctor Laura Kahn, who wrote some paper, and she was contacted by Bruce Kaplan, who's a veterinarian, and they sort of launched this together. So there were some medical doctors and some veterinarians in the US who launched this One Health initiative, and that was originally just human and veterinary medicine, and for a while this sort of kept going. I think it was 2006 or something. So the first line there is from their website. Originally they said that the One Health initiative will unite human and veterinary medicine. Fair enough, it's difficult enough to make this work, because animals are not just a source of disease for people. We share some diseases, we share some problems, we share challenges. There's transdisciplinary, a lot of sort of common challenges that needs to be addressed. But then this has moved on to, as we've said already, to sort of broaden perspectives into the One Health initiative. Is a move. This is just from their website, so the underscoring is not mine. The One Health initiative is a movement to forge co-equal, all-inclusive collaborations between physicians, osteopathic physicians, veterinarians, dentists, nurses, and other scientific, health and environmental related disciplines. I cannot explain exactly what these disciplines are because this is their phrasing, but they're trying to sort of make this all-encompassing for people who work with all. There was a question before: who are the others? I mean, who are the ecologists, the environmental health scientists? And I think we still struggle to define those because there will be lots of different disciplines within the environment. And also, as we already mentioned, it started as a tripartite between the FAO, the UN Agriculture Organization, the World Health Organization, and the World Animal Health Organization, and now they brought in the United Nations Environmental Programme, and they have this quadripartite, and the definition is One Health is an integrated, unifying approach that aims to sustainably balance and optimize the health of people, animals, and ecosystems. Ecosystems, to me, contains people and animals and the environment. So whatever you do to explain this, it just gets more complicated. But it recognizes that the health of humans, domestic and wild animals, plants, and the wider environment, including ecosystems, are closely linked and interdependent. So the basic message is that all these things are linked, which we obviously already know, but they are linked in an ecosystem, and we need to recognize these linkages. We cannot just look at one little piece of the puzzle. It's a whole system that usually needs to be addressed to get in as one to make sense of it. And that's just another way of looking at it. I'm trying to get my timer to work. And I already realized that I wasn't capable of sort of putting the ecosystem health around the circle, because the ecosystem contains environment, soil and water health and so on, plants, animals, and humans. So it's just another way of looking at it. This was before we had the other fancy one. I tried to do another figure on this. And the definitions vary. We already started talking about that during last speech. There's been sort of the One Health, and that's more or less defined now, but it's all still open to interpretation. So One Health is the sort of the ecosystem containing all these things. Then we have the planetary health, and I really like the picture that you put up with the sort of planet, but it's also very anthropocentric. It's very obvious, like you said, it's very obvious that people are in the center of this and everything around people. So we worry about our planet because of our own survival, which is okay. I mean, that's the way it works. But if we're going to address this, we can't just see everything around people as a sort of big mass. We need to sort of look at the details there as well. There's a lack of consistent terminology because people talk about different things. We talk about agroecology, we talk about planetary health, we talk about health and ecological balance, the balance of ecosystems, resilience, all these things, sustainability, and then we mean different things by this. There's an absence of a shared understanding of its scope and application. There was a paper from Denmark where they evaluated the Swedish authorities and their sort of work with One Health, because we pride ourselves of being very interested in One Health, and our authorities are collaborating on this. But they thought that this was still a sort of a silo approach. And there's a limited engagement of certain scientific disciplines because they feel like, this is not our job. And I think part of the problem is that it has been very much sort of zoonotic diseases, veterinarians and doctors, so these other aspects. And it's not just the environment, it's other disciplines, it's social sciences. They are sort of not, they weren't in the core of this One Health concept to begin with, and now they feel like, nah, we don't want to join, and you just want us as an alibi so that you have everything in there, and that is sort of counterproductive for success in this field. There's a tendency towards maintaining siloed approaches because it's easier, and we also need these silos. We need to focus sometimes. I mean, if we don't have specialists, we don't have anybody to link together. So it's natural that this is the way it works. It works like that in authorities because they have to have instructions. They have to have some field of operations where they are responsible. But then we also have to have these linkages. And the picture there is from a paper that came out of the One Health European Joint Program on it was a Horizon initiative that finished this year. And they are talking about and I can't even see here. Cross-sector communication is key. Is a key prerequisite for the One Health approach. Yes, of course, cross-sector collaboration needs to be there. The differences in terminology and definition hinder cross-sector communication. Yeah, we don't understand each other properly if we use different words, obviously. Well, at least we have to know that we use different words, or we use maybe we use the same words for different things, and we need to know that. So they're arguing for a web-based, searchable, user-friendly, and fair resource that supports communication. This is very ambitious to have some sort of dictionary, One Health dictionary. And a first step, this will be a first step then towards better One Health collaboration and a joint One Health culture, so that we will be able to communicate if we use the same words. I don't know if this will ever happen. I mean, we speak English. A lot of us don't have English as a native language, but even those who do come from North America, Australia, Oceania, and New Zealand, and then we have Ireland, and then we have England and Scotland and so on. And you use, in my experience, you use the English language a little bit differently, all of you. It's all the same language. So maybe we can't find exact definitions that we all agree on, but we need to understand when we don't understand each other, I think. In the European Union, that's also been mentioned already, but there was this European Union Agencies Network for Scientific Advice, EU ANSA, that's already in place, and that was already mentioned. These agencies have their different responsibilities and knowledge, and they are both producers of knowledge and users of knowledge. Then we had the One Health European Joint Program that was running, that finishes this year. And that's also involved a lot of agencies. I think there were 44 partners, and 4 of those were universities, which goes to show a little bit about the European One Health approach. It's not really involving the universities, and fair enough, because that's the European Union, they have agencies and so on. But as universities, I think we need to be in there as well, and not just sort of wait for them to tell us what to teach our students and what research to do and what research or funding we can apply for. I mean, we also need to get in there and be involved in these discussions. Policy cooperation is deemed crucial to EU agencies. There's been some sort of evaluation on this, and the individual agencies succeed only if the policy as a whole succeeds. This is sort of a statement from evaluation and from the European Union or the European Commission. And we also mentioned this one conference, where Health, Environment, Society conference in June 2022, where all these main European agencies were involved. And they want to enhance synergies between research efforts in the respective EU agency domains of expertise. So there's a transdisciplinary approach that's called for. That's been also these statements from the European Commission within the One Health field. So they formed this One Health cross-agency task force. And the objectives of this task force, and that's already been mentioned as well, but I'll repeat it. They should facilitate strategic coordination of the work of the agencies on implementing One Health. And now it sounds like One Health is the only thing that they are doing. It's not. This is on top of what they're already doing, because they have their different responsibilities and expertises. So they should also link these together. I understand that this doesn't happen every day because there's a lot to do, but this is something that it's important to link these agencies together on European level, so that it will sort of trickle down to national level and to the workings in the different member states. They should promote research coordination and One Health-driven agenda setting. They should provide a forum for the coordination of activities to update, inform and support EU policymakers in their goal to prioritize One Health. That's a mouthful. Strengthen joint activities and the sharing of information on One Health aspects among the agencies, identifying linkages, interdependencies and fields of cooperation and good practices. And to do this, they will produce a joint interagency statement on One Health, and then they will sort of plan their work, because this is fairly new. And closer to our hearts, maybe, the research funding, because this is also part of, make this policy work and to have an impact of their policy, they also need new knowledge on European level, and all the agencies need new knowledge, and they cannot produce it all by themselves, but they will be part of this research, of course, but our universities will also be in there. So there's a lot on antibiotic resistance. The joint program initiative on antimicrobial resistance, for instance, that's focusing on antimicrobial resistance. There's a lot of talk about AMR being a One Health issue, and it is, obviously, because it's already been mentioned, the resistance genes, resistant bacteria carrying these genes, and the antibiotic residues end up in the environment, and this is a sort of transmission route. It's not really clear if antibiotic resistance itself would be a problem for the environment. There's a lot of sort of big words about this, that this is a health threat to animals, people, animals, and the environment. Is it really a health threat for the environment? I don't know if it matters if there are, because there are already resistance genes in the environment, and we're not treating the environment with antimicrobials, so it's a threat for plant health. If you think that plants are environment, then yes. But otherwise, for the wider environment, maybe AMR itself is not a threat, but of course, pollution with antibiotic residues that's chemical pollution, so that's an issue. But I think it's important also that we remember to specify, not just sort of use this wide, that it affects the health of all these parts, and that's why it's One Health. We need to also specify, why is this a One Health issue? Who is threatened by this, and where is the problem? Is one of these pieces of One Health maybe the environment? Is that just a sort of vehicle for this problem, or is it also affecting the health of the environment? And what do we think is the environment? I'm going a bit back and forward here, but I think AMR is usually promoted as a One Health issue, and this quadripartite has this One Health action plan. But it's a bit difficult to get the environment involved and to get the environmental program involved. And I understand why, because it's not mainly a problem for the environment. Zoonotic diseases are also very much in focus, and especially since we want to prepare for the next pandemic, and most people think it's going to come from the animals somewhere. And as a microbiologist, you can think that people is just one animal species or one host species. So yes, of course, it will. If there's something that transcends species, it will be a threat to everybody. The main sort of strategic agenda for research is within the Horizon program, and they have 5 mission areas. And they don't really look like One Health, because they are very sort of separate. Adaptation to climate change, including social transformation, cancer, healthy oceans, seas, coastal and inland waters, climate neutral and smart cities, soil health and food. You can see that One Health is a little bit here and there in that. The 6 clusters where they put the calls are health. I think that's public health mainly, or it is public health mainly. Culture, creativity and inclusive societies, civil security for society, digital industry and space, climate, energy and mobility, food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture and environment. So it looks to me, if you just look at these clusters, that One Health would be the one most to the right and the one most to the left, and that will be sort of, so it's not very much in there, but in the calls themselves there's a lot of talk about One Health. And it's mentioned here and there, and we all have to make sure that we're not overlapping when we're writing proposals, and we should all collaborate with each other and so on. So this is a big challenge. I think I feel a bit like it's left to the researchers to sort out what the policymakers could not, because they could not combine all this One Health properly. So the researchers have to do that in their research proposals. And we're also accused of being very much siloed, and we're all fixated on our own research, which is not so bad if you're an expert in something and you're working on details. But they also have to fit together. But there's a lot of One Health in these calls, and it is a challenge, and I think it's a good challenge that we need to work together within between our different disciplines and put this together to make sense of this sort of ecosystem that is One Health. But the same challenges, because I was first tasked to talk about education, and then we sort of added the EU and policy development to this talk. That's why I'm talking for so long. So the challenge is what to include, because we have this with the definitions and the focus and what is One Health. What should we include in our education? And it was also mentioned before, we teach different educational programs. How much should we include of One Health in these? In our veterinary program, we have One Health. It runs through as a theme through the whole veterinary program, but it's some sort of a backdrop for the veterinary students, because they will become veterinarians. They have to learn we're already squeezing things into this period that we have them in the university. So it's kind of hard for them to also grasp the whole concept of One Health. But we try to sort of put it in there as a theme. And they also study veterinary public health, and that's when we talk a lot about One Health. For the other students, it's also included and I think, and it was a good point made before, that maybe the students in the environmental sciences, biology, the forestry, they don't have so much on One Health. Or maybe I'm wrong because I'm not teaching in those programs, but maybe we should try and get in there a bit more as veterinarians, and we should also bring in the medical faculties in that. We have tried to have collaboration with the medical faculty in Uppsala because it's easy, we work together. We've had separate sort of afternoons where we put the students together. They enjoyed it very much. The medical students said that they learned so much from the veterinary students, and the veterinary students said, we didn't learn a thing because we already knew that, which was kind of depressing or encouraging, I don't know. But at least they got together and talked about these things. We had a lot about zoonotic diseases, but also other health challenges. But the planning that this took made it not really worth the effort. It was very dependent on individual people working together, teachers working together and getting this set up and fitting the schedule for these two very overloaded programs, university programs. Was too much of a challenge, so we've stopped doing it. And also the medical students, they are admitted in the autumn and in the spring, and the veterinary students are only admitted in autumn, so we couldn't fit all the medical students together with the vet students because the programs didn't run on the same timeline. And I think this is a challenge when you try to integrate different programs within the One Health sphere, or within any sphere, to get the schedules to fit basically, and to get the logistics to work, because there's a lot of students from two different programs that you want to put together, and if you want to bring even more programs together, it's even more of a logistic challenge. And in Sweden we have 150 vet students. In many countries you have 400. And if you want to bring in 400 medical students as well, it's 800 students that you're going to mix somehow, and you have to split them somehow and make it for it to make sense for them. So I think that's a logistical challenge as well. But if we come back to this, what should be included? It's kind of easy to get vet students and medical students together to talk about zoonosis, but other things, what do we want to have in there? And if we want to present the whole broad spectrum, we should also try and broaden this definition, so it can't just be a few subjects. And we need an interdisciplinary approach, and a lot of the teachers are disciplinary. We're very good at what we do, but we're not really comfortable with going outside of that. So we need to have teachers teaching together, I think, so that they can it's easier if you have a colleague who's an expert in something else. Then it's more comfortable to teach a subject that's transdisciplinary, and you can sort of have a dialogue, and the students love that. But it also takes more resources. And it should be based on specialized research and interdisciplinary research, because we need the specialization. There's been a lot of talk about the One Health profession. There was in the previous draft of the pandemic treaty, or pandemic, I can't remember what it's called, pandemic instrument. The WHO is working on this, and there are global negotiations on a new pandemic text. That will complement the international travel regulations, international health travel regulations. And this text, the last draft included some paragraph on One Health professionals, and that immediately prompted this discussion: what is One Health professionals? And somebody found the definition online that was a professional who knew a lot about One Health and could link everything together. And then they changed the text, because that wasn't really what they meant. They meant all the professionals involved in the One Health field, because we need all these experts. We can't just have experts who are experts in linking different fields. They need to know something of the different disciplines. So we need to have both. And we also have to think about this for our students. Should they be experts in one discipline or many disciplines? Or, I mean, they won't be experts should they have their basic education in one discipline, several disciplines? How much should they be? We need to make them aware of all the other disciplines and how it's linked, but maybe they need to focus on something, because they are going to work in a world where something is in focus. And then maybe they can sort of transcend the different disciplines. But I don't think we will help them if we educate a lot of people who know a little bit about everything, because that's the challenge for One Health. It can't be everything and nothing. It has to mean something. So there has to be some sort of ground there to build on. So the main challenges, I think, is that university institutions or departments, they are usually organized in disciplines. Because that's how we're built up, that's how we sort of create our expertise, and that's how we do our research, and then we sort of link together. But the host institution for any education in One Health will have the most influence on the content and the approach. And that will be reflected also. I'll have some examples later on. So there's this challenge to balance the in-depth versus the broad knowledge. And sometimes this confuses the students, especially if you have students who are extremely ambitious and and a curriculum overload. They will sort of say, but what is the point of this? I learn these details and then I have to link them together, and it's sort of where is the focus? What am I supposed to know, and how can I sort of put this into the way I'm going to work? I teach a lot of veteran students, and they are very focused on they are going to cure sick animals, and then you try to bring the global perspective in there and so on, and it takes a while for them to end up thinking that this is also important. But they also need to cure sick animals once they are graduated. So we need to sort of have both. And yeah, we need the specialists to link them together. So we can't just have specialists in sort of linking. And you need to have some in-depth understanding to be able to link these things together. And there is a vast number of relevant subjects. I mean, we can go on and list more and more and more. That would be interesting. We have a One Health PhD course. I'm coming back to that. And we can just bring more things into it, more and more and more. We have so many ideas of what would be useful and what would be sort of setting the whole thing into a One Health perspective. But there is a limit to how much you can squeeze into one course and to one program. So I got some help in this, but I also looked up some. This is very limited, and these are just examples. And I was limited to my linguistic skills, because some things I couldn't read on the internet, basically, and I couldn't do a proper internet search because I didn't know the words in some languages. So I just selected a few. There is some in University of Milan. There's a master science programs in One Health. They focus on human health and molecular biology. There's a lot of molecular, but there's also a lot about the development of the animal genome. But they basically, the most of the subjects are molecular and sort of coming from a human health perspective. Then there's the one in Pavia University. That's a PhD program. It's called One Health Approaches to Infectious Diseases and Life Science Research. Their focus is viral zoonosis and antimicrobial resistance. It's a PhD program that's funded for, and they have this sort of theme of viral diseases and AMR. Then Edinburgh University have a Wellcome Trust-funded PhD program in One Health models of disease. So they focus on translational medicine, that's sort of veterinary and human medicine, and zoonosis. So it's very much veterinary medicine and human medicine put together, and it's an entire PhD program. Then we have Université Paris-Cité, Institut Pasteur. Together they have a graduate school on One Health and emerging infectious diseases, and that, as you can hear, it's focused on infectious diseases and One Health and zoonotic diseases. And Université de Tours that's together with Universitat Autónoma de Barcelona and Hannover Medical Schools. They have an Erasmus Mundus joint master degree on infectious diseases and One Health. So there's a lot on infectious diseases, and this just reflects the way that One Health has developed, I think. Its origin is infectious diseases and zoonotic diseases, so that's where we sort of, a lot of people feel at home, and it's taken some time. It takes some time to develop these programs, so it sort of reflects the history of One Health. I think in time we will see more programs focusing or broadening the focus and including more of environmental aspects and plant health and so on. And then Nantes University, they have some sort of Manimal One Health master's degree. It's from animal to man, analyzing and managing health and food risks. So it's also anthropocentric, because it sees we come from the animals and then they produce food and we move into people, but to human health. But it's kind of an interesting name, and they've taken the broader aspect of food safety and food security. And then we have Universitat Autónoma de Barcelona. They have a Master Official in Zoonosis and una sola in One Health. It's zoonotic diseases again. Edinburgh University has a master's program in One Health. It's a broad interdisciplinary, and it targets life science professionals. This is a very broad approach, and they bring in the entire sort of spectrum of One Health. And then Copenhagen University has a summer course in One Health. It's a 5-week summer course, interdisciplinary aspect of infectious and chemical health challenges. So the summer course is called One Health, but they also have not just infections or microbial challenges. They have chemical health challenges, and they try to bring in the environment as well. They have people, animals, and the environment, and mainly the environment as some sort of vehicle for these health challenges. And then we have our PhD course in One Health. It's interdisciplinary, it targets PhD students in life science. We try to bring in all these aspects that we have, and we also bring in some medical people to talk about their take on One Health. But the people we can get from the medical faculty are usually interested in infectious diseases. Otherwise they don't understand what we're talking about. They don't really want to talk in a course on One Health about other things, which I think is a pity, and we're trying to broaden this. But we have plenty of people in soil health and water health and plant health who are interested in talking about this in a One Health perspective, because they feel like finally we're getting into this. So I think it's the fact that the environmental sciences and the plant health and so on is not fully on board is mainly historical. As soon as they see that there is a take on this, because they're already, I mean, somebody said agroecology. We're already considering health aspects in a lot of things we do in environmental science, because and the broader aspects, because ecologists are already working on ecological scale. And sort of ecosystem scale. So I think this is not an alien concept at all. It's the human health that comes in later. So yeah, I think this is a thing that is developing. And the main challenge is: are we going to have programs on One Health, or are we going to put One Health more into our existing programs, or both? Probably both. But I think it's important that we don't have these special programs on One Health and then the other programs go on as business as usual, because then we're not helping our students to tackle the future challenges. They will need to know a lot about their own subjects, but they will also need to communicate with people in different subjects. And I think that was it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Susanna.